My name is Riley, a 29-year-old software engineer from Boston. What should have been a day of celebration turned into the most painful betrayal of my life. Opening Facebook to see my entire family enjoying Miami on my birthday felt like a knife to my heart. I never imagined the people I'd supported for years would exclude me so callously, but they had no idea their cruel joke would completely backfire. Before I tell you how this story unfolds, let me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to see how my family learned that treating people like trash comes with a price. I grew up in a modest neighborhood in the suburbs of Boston. My family consisted of my father, Thomas, a construction worker with an unpredictable income, my mother, Diane, who worked part-time at a local department store, my older sister, Amanda, who was 3 years my senior, and my younger brother, Jackson, who was 4 years younger than me. We never had much growing up, but my parents always emphasized the importance of family sticking together through tough times. From an early age, I developed a reputation as the responsible one in the family. While Amanda was artistic and emotional, and Jackson was the charming troublemaker, I was the one everyone counted on. When I was 16, I started working after school at a local computer repair shop. I initially wanted to save for college, but much of that money ended up helping with household bills when my dad was between jobs or had medical issues that kept him home. After high school, I put myself through college at a state university, majoring in computer science. Those 4 years were brutal. I worked nearly full-time while carrying a full course load. There were semesters when I would go days without more than 4 hours of sleep. My parents couldn't contribute financially to my education, which I understood, but what hurt was how they seemed to take my self-sufficiency for granted. When I landed my first job as a junior software engineer at a financial technology company in Boston, my starting salary was more than my parents had ever made combined. I was proud and eager to help improve my family's situation. At first, it was emergency assistance here and there. Dad needed dental work that insurance wouldn't cover. Mom's car broke down and needed expensive repairs. Amanda got laid off and needed help with rent for a few months. Jackson wanted to attend a better college than we could previously afford. What started as occasional help gradually became systematic financial support. I bought my parents a new roof for their house when the old one started leaking. I helped them renovate their outdated kitchen. I paid off the remainder of their mortgage when the bank threatened foreclosure during an economic downturn. For Amanda, I co-signed her apartment lease and often covered the difference when she came up short on rent, which happened almost monthly. When she totaled her car, I put the down payment on a new one and set up automatic payments from my account for the monthly installments. Jackson benefited from my success too. I paid a significant portion of his college tuition, covered his textbooks and laptop, and gave him a monthly allowance so he wouldn't have to work while studying like I did. I wanted him to have the college experience I never got to enjoy. All this financial support continued, even as their situations improved. Dad got a supervisor position with better pay and more stability. Mom started working full-time as a department manager. Amanda finally secured a decent-paying job in marketing. Jackson was set to graduate with good prospects in his field. Yet somehow, the financial dependency never decreased. New emergencies, new needs, new wants always seemed to materialize. I didn't mind helping my family. They were my blood, and I loved them. But what bothered me increasingly was the lack of appreciation. Thank yous became rarer. Consideration for my time and feelings seemed almost non-existent. When I couldn't attend a family function because of work demands, I'd be guilted rather than understood. When I suggested they might start taking more financial responsibility as their situations improved, I was made to feel selfish and ungrateful for my own success. Birthdays had always been important in our family. Growing up with limited means, my parents made sure birthdays were special occasions. We never had expensive gifts, but there was always a homemade cake, heartfelt cards, and the birthday person got to choose the dinner menu and was exempt from chores for the day. As an adult, I continued this tradition by making family birthdays special. For Dad's 60th, I organized and paid for a surprise party with all his friends and extended family. For Mom's matching milestone the following year, I sent her and Dad on their first ever cruise. For Amanda's 30th, I gifted her a spa weekend with her friends. For Jackson's 21st, I flew him and 2 friends to Las Vegas for an unforgettable weekend. My birthdays, in contrast, became increasingly underwhelming. Last year, I received a store-bought cake and a gift card to a restaurant chain. The year before, the family had forgotten entirely until I mentioned it casually during a Sunday phone call, which resulted in hastily sent text messages with cake emojis. It hurt, but I buried that hurt beneath rationalizations about how busy everyone was with their own lives. This year, as my 29th birthday approached, I had cautiously brought it up during our monthly family dinner. So, my birthday's coming up in a couple of weeks. I was thinking maybe we could all go to that new steakhouse downtown. My treat, of course. Dad had looked up from his plate. Oh yeah, end of the month, right? Let me check my schedule. He never got back to me. Mom had been more enthusiastic. That sounds lovely, sweetie. I'll make sure everyone keeps that day open. But no concrete plans were made. Amanda had immediately started talking about a work project deadline that might conflict. Jackson had been on his phone the entire conversation. I left that dinner feeling the familiar disappointment, but still hoping they might surprise me with something thoughtful. Maybe they were planning something special and keeping it secret. That thought gave me comfort as my birthday approached. Little did I know what kind of surprise they actually had in store. On the morning of my 29th birthday, I woke up expecting at least a few text messages or missed calls. My phone screen was empty except for work notifications and app updates. No happy birthday messages, not even from my family group chat that pinged constantly with memes and random conversations on normal days. They're probably waiting to call later, I told myself as I got ready for work. Or maybe they're planning to surprise me at the office or at home this evening. I tried to suppress the sinking feeling in my stomach as I headed out the door. At work, a few colleagues wished me happy birthday after seeing the notification on the company calendar. My team lead brought in cupcakes, which was thoughtful but also standard practice for everyone's birthdays at the office. By lunchtime, I still hadn't heard from any family members. I ate my sandwich alone at my desk, scrolling through social media to distract myself from the growing disappointment. That's when I saw it. My thumb froze mid-swipe as my brain struggled to process the image on my screen. It was a photo posted by my sister Amanda, time-stamped 2 hours ago. The caption read, "Day 1 of family vacation. Miami sunshine is just what we needed. Blessed family time sunshine." The photo showed my parents, Amanda, and Jackson posing on Miami Beach with wide smiles, tropical drinks in hand. My mother was wearing a new sun hat I had never seen before. My father had his arm around her shoulders, looking more relaxed than I had seen him in months. Amanda and Jackson were making peace signs at the camera, their skin already taking on the golden glow of a tan. My hands began to shake so badly I had to put my phone down. A wave of nausea hit me as the reality sank in. My entire family had gone on vacation together on my birthday without even telling me, let alone inviting me. I picked up my phone again, hoping there was some explanation. Maybe this was an old photo they were resharing. Maybe it was a quick weekend trip they had planned last minute and would be back for my birthday dinner. But as I scrolled through Amanda's profile, more photos appeared. Instagram stories showing them at the airport early yesterday morning. Check-in posts at a beachfront hotel I recognized as an expensive resort. A group selfie with the caption, "Finally taking that family getaway we've all been needing. 7 days of pure relaxation ahead." 7 days. They had planned this. This wasn't spontaneous. This was a deliberate, coordinated family vacation that excluded only one person, me. My colleague Samantha noticed something was wrong when she stopped by my desk to discuss a project. "Riley, you look like you've seen a ghost. Are you okay?" I couldn't find the words to explain the betrayal I was feeling. How do you tell someone that your entire family decided to fly to Miami on your birthday without you? That they were posting about their wonderful family time while completely ignoring your existence? "I'm not feeling well," I managed to say. "I think I need to go home." Samantha looked concerned but didn't press further. "Of course. It's your birthday, you shouldn't be here if you're sick. Go home and rest." I packed up my laptop with mechanical movements, my mind still struggling to process what was happening. The subway ride home passed in a blur. Once inside my apartment, I sank onto my couch and began the masochistic task of scrolling through more photos and posts about their trip. There was my brother Jackson, tagged at a poolside bar. Starting vacation right. No worries, family first. My mother had posted a sunset photo with my father. So grateful for this time away with the people who matter most. Blessed family. The comments under these posts made it even worse. Extended family members and friends asking about their sudden vacation plans. My Aunt Laura asking, "Looks amazing. Was this planned long? So jealous." My father had replied, "Been planning this for months. Needed a real family getaway." Months. They had been planning this for months. Every family dinner, every phone call, every text exchange, they had all known about this trip and deliberately kept it from me. Then came the comments that broke me completely. My cousin Drew had commented on one of the beach photos. "Whole family looks great. Where's Riley?" My mother had responded, "Just us four on this trip. Sometimes you need a break from routine." I was the routine they needed a break from. I, who had given them everything I could, who had supported them financially and emotionally for years, who had never asked for anything in return except basic appreciation and inclusion. I was the one they needed a break from. The physical pain of this realization was overwhelming. My chest felt tight, my breathing shallow. Tears burned in my eyes but wouldn't fall, as if even my body was too shocked to react normally. I sat there, scrolling through more evidence of their betrayal, watching as they enjoyed the sun and sea on my dime, because I knew with absolute certainty that this trip had been funded at least partially by my financial support. As the afternoon wore on, more photos appeared. A fancy dinner at an upscale restaurant, shopping bags from designer stores, jet ski rentals and parasailing adventures. All expensive activities that I suspected were possible because of the money I regularly provided to each of them. Not once in any photo, caption, or comment was there any mention of my birthday or my absence. It was as if I didn't exist in their world at all, except as the invisible bank account that made their luxuries possible. As evening fell, I sat in my darkened apartment, still scrolling through their vacation updates. My phone remained silent. No birthday calls, no texts, not even the cursory social media greeting that distant acquaintances might offer. The complete absence of acknowledgement felt deliberate, a calculated erasure of my existence on the one day that should have been about celebrating it. I debated what to do. Call them? They might not even pick up, busy with their beachside cocktails and sunset views. Send a private message? Too easy to ignore or dismiss. After hours of hurt building into something harder and sharper, I decided on the most public approach possible, the same platform they had used to flaunt their betrayal. Under Amanda's most recent beach photo, I wrote a single-word comment. Why? Simple. Direct. Impossible to misinterpret. I put my phone down and tried to distract myself with television, but found myself checking for responses every few minutes. An hour passed. Nothing. 2 hours. Still nothing. I wondered if they were deliberately ignoring me, or if they were too busy enjoying themselves to notice my comment. Just as I was about to give up and try to sleep, my phone notification sounded. A reply to my comment. It was from my father. We didn't want to waste our time on a clown. The words hit me like a physical blow. My own father had just publicly called me a clown. In seconds, notification sounds followed, as reactions to his comment poured in. My mother had added a laughing emoji. Amanda had commented, "Dad, brutal but true," with a crying, laughing face. Jackson had responded with a clown emoji and a thumbs down. My hands trembled as I typed my response. "Then this clown doesn't want to spend money on you." I hit send before I could reconsider, my heart pounding in my chest. Their response was immediate but dismissive. Amanda sent a message. "Lol, someone's jealous. Don't worry, bro. We'll bring you a souvenir," Jackson added. "Can't take a joke?" Typical Riley drama. My phone started ringing. It was my mother. I answered, my voice tight with emotion. "Riley, honey," she began, her tone casual and slightly slurred from what I assumed were vacation cocktails. "You know your father was just joking. Don't be so sensitive." "Joking?" About excluding me from a family vacation on my birthday? About publicly calling me a clown? Oh, sweetie, is it your birthday? I lose track of dates on vacation. Happy birthday. She sounded distracted, beach music playing loudly in the background. And this trip just came together last minute. You know how these things happen. Last minute? Dad commented that you've been planning it for months. A pause. Well, we knew you'd be busy with work. You're always working. We didn't want to bother you with something you'd probably say no to anyway. You didn't even give me the chance to say yes or no. You deliberately excluded me, and now you're lying about it. Riley, you're overreacting. It's just a little family trip. We'll celebrate your birthday when we get back, promise. Like you celebrated last year? With a grocery store cake and a $25 gift card? Now you're just being ungrateful. We do the best we can. You know not everyone has your fancy job and disposable income. Disposable income that pays for Amanda's car, Jackson's tuition, and half your monthly expenses. The line went quiet for a moment. I have to go. Your father wants to go to dinner. Stop being dramatic and we'll talk when we get back. She hung up before I could respond. Almost immediately, my phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. Mom says you're being a baby about the trip. Seriously, bro, get over yourself. Not everything is about you. We needed this family time. Family time. Without the full family. I didn't respond, but another text came through minutes later. Anyway, totally unrelated, but could you make this month's car payment a little early? The bank sent a reminder, and I'm worried about fees if it's late. Thanks. You're the best. Enjoy your birthday. The audacity was breathtaking. In the same message where she dismissed my feelings, she was asking for more money. I didn't reply to her either. Jackson was next, sending not a message but several memes about being left out, with captions like, "When you're not invited to the party," and "Forever alone." He followed these with a text saying, "Just jokes, big bro. Don't take life so seriously. By the way, can you send this month's allowance to my PayPal? Miami is expensive. Lol." Their collective response made one thing crystal clear. None of them were taking my hurt seriously. None of them recognized the cruelty of their actions. And all of them still expected my financial support to continue uninterrupted, as if my feelings and dignity were irrelevant as long as the money kept flowing. As I sat there looking at their messages, something hardened inside me. Years of taken-for-granted generosity crystallized into a resolve I had never felt before. They thought I was joking about the money. They were about to discover just how serious I was. The next morning, I called in sick to work. For the first time in my adult life, I needed to take a hard look at exactly how much money I had been giving my family. I always knew it was substantial, but I had avoided calculating the total, partly because I didn't want to seem transactional about helping the people I loved, and partly because I suspected the number would be shocking. I opened my laptop and began methodically going through my financial records. First, I created a spreadsheet for my parents. Over the past 5 years, I had paid for a new roof for their house, $15,000, kitchen renovation, $22,000, bathroom updates, $8,000, medical bills not covered by insurance, approximately $12,000, monthly loans that were never repaid, averaging $600 per month for 5 years, $36,000. The remainder of their mortgage to prevent foreclosure, $47,000. Various emergency expenses, car repairs, and appliance replacements, approximately $18,000. The total for just my parents came to $158,000, not including gifts for birthdays and holidays, dinners out that I always paid for, and countless smaller expenses I had covered without thinking. Next, I tallied Amanda's expenses. Down payment on her car, $6,000. Monthly car payments for 3 years, $16,000. Rent assistance, averaging $400 monthly for 5 years, $24,000. Emergency loans for everything from dental work to a professional wardrobe, approximately $15,000. Amanda's total, $61,000. Finally, Jackson, college tuition contribution, for 4 years, $40,000. textbooks, and laptop. $6,000. Monthly allowance of $500 for 4 years. $24,000. Spring break trips and other college experiences. $8,000. Jackson's total. $78,000. I stared at the final number on my screen. $297,000. Nearly $300,000 over 5 years. Money that could have gone toward buying my own home instead of renting, investing for my future, or simply enjoying the fruits of my hard work. The revelation left me breathless. I had known it was a lot, but seeing the actual figure was staggering. What was even more staggering was realizing how little appreciation or respect I had received in return. My 29th birthday spent alone while they vacationed in Miami was the perfect symbol of our relationship dynamic. I took a deep breath and began making phone calls. First to my bank, where I canceled all automatic transfers to my family members' accounts. The customer service representative asked if there was a problem with the transfers. "No problem," I replied, my voice steadier than I expected. "I'm just ending these payments permanently." Next, I called the financing company for Amanda's car. I explained that I would no longer be making payments on the vehicle. The representative warned me that as co-signer, my credit could be affected if payments weren't made. "I understand," I said. "Please note in your system that I've given notice and will not be responsible for further payments." For Jackson's tuition assistance, I logged into the university payment portal and removed my credit card information. For the monthly allowance I sent him, I canceled the recurring PayPal transfer. Each action felt simultaneously painful and liberating. These were people I loved, people I had wanted to support and see thrive, but they had shown me clearly that they didn't value me as a family member, only as a financial resource. As I made these changes, text notifications began appearing on my phone. Automated messages from banks about canceled transfers, payment reminders for accounts I had just removed myself from. I muted them all. Let the consequences unfold without my immediate attention. That evening, I drafted an email to my supervisor, explaining that I needed to take a few personal days. I had accumulated weeks of unused vacation time over the years, always too dedicated to my work to take more than the occasional long weekend. Now I would use some of that time to process this fundamental shift in my life and prepare for the inevitable confrontation with my family. The next few days passed in a strange, quiet limbo. My family was still in Miami, apparently unaware of the financial changes I had implemented. I used the time to consult with a financial advisor about better managing my money going forward and spoke with a therapist who specialized in family dynamics to help process my feelings of betrayal and establish healthier boundaries. From an early age, I developed a reputation as the responsible one in the family. While Amanda was artistic and emotional, and Jackson was the charming troublemaker, I was the one everyone counted on. When I was 16, I started working after school at a local computer repair shop. I initially wanted to save for college, but much of that money ended up helping with household bills when my dad was between jobs or had medical issues that kept him home. By the 5th day after my birthday, I felt stronger and clearer about my path forward. I would not resume financial support unless there were genuine consequences and changes in our relationship. I would require respect and consideration as a condition of any future assistance, and I would need sincere acknowledgement of how deeply their actions had hurt me. Little did I know that while I was making these resolutions, the first financial dominoes were already beginning to fall in Miami. The vacation bliss was about to come to an abrupt end. My family's 7-day Miami vacation continued without interruption. Their social media feeds a constant stream of beach photos, fancy dinners, and tourist activities. Not once did any of them mention my birthday again or express any regret about their hurtful comments. As far as they were concerned, the minor drama had been resolved, and everything could continue as normal. The therapist helped me see that my generosity had inadvertently enabled my family's entitled behavior. By always being the financial safety net, I had allowed them to avoid responsibility for their choices and never develop appreciation for my contributions. It was a painful realization, but also an empowering one. I couldn't change their behavior, but I could change mine. No such messages came, likely because they were still upset about my comment and expected me to apologize first. They returned from Miami on a Sunday evening. I knew this because Jackson posted a obligatory back-to-reality airport selfie. I expected to hear from at least one of them that night, or the next morning, if only to resume the usual pattern of financial requests. But Monday passed in silence. No calls, no texts. Tuesday morning, the first signs of my financial changes hit. My mother called at 7:30, her voice tight with confusion and the beginning edges of panic. "Riley? There must be some mistake with the bank. The money you usually send for the household bills hasn't shown up in our account." "It's not a mistake," I replied calmly. "I canceled all the automatic transfers." A pause. "Very funny. This isn't the time for jokes, Riley. The mortgage payment is due tomorrow." "I'm not joking. And it's not a mortgage payment. I paid off your mortgage last year. It's your property tax escrow payment. Whatever it is, we need that money. Your father and I have budgeted with that in mind. You should have thought about that before taking a luxury vacation to Miami without me and publicly humiliating me on my birthday." Her tone turned cold. "So this is some kind of revenge? How childish can you be? It's not revenge. It's consequences. You can't treat someone like they don't matter and then expect them to keep supporting you financially." "We were joking. You know your father doesn't mean half the things he says. You're blowing this whole thing out of proportion. If it was just the hurtful comment, maybe. But you all deliberately excluded me from a family vacation that fell on my birthday. A vacation you'd been planning for months while lying to my face about it. We didn't think you'd want to come. You're always so busy with work. You never asked me. You never gave me the choice. Well, be that as it may, we need that money transferred today. Your father has a doctor's appointment we need to pay for, and the utility bills." "No," I interrupted, surprising both of us with my firmness. "I'm not sending any more money. You and Dad both have jobs. You have income. You need to figure out your finances without my help from now on. You can't be serious." Her voice had risen an octave. "After everything we've done for you, what exactly have you done for me, Mom? What have any of you done for me lately, except take and then exclude me from your lives when it suited you?" She hung up without responding. Within minutes, my father called. I let it go to voicemail. His message was a mixture of anger and disbelief, with vague threats about family loyalty and how I would regret turning my back on blood. An hour later, Amanda called in tears. The bank had notified her that her car payment had bounced, resulting in a late fee and a warning about possible repossession if the account wasn't brought current immediately. "I don't understand," she sobbed. "Did you forget to make the payment? They're saying it's 2 weeks late." "I didn't forget. I notified the finance company that I won't be making any more payments on your car." Her tears stopped abruptly. "You what? You can't do that. You promised you'd help me with the car. You're the co-signer." "Yes, and as the co-signer, I've been making 100% of the payments for 3 years while you spend your income on designer clothes and weekly salon appointments. That's not fair. I have expenses too." "So do I. And one of my expenses for too long has been financially supporting ungrateful family members who don't even want me around on my birthday." "Oh my God, are you still on that?" "It was just a vacation, Riley. We didn't invite you because you're always such a downer with your budgeting talk and responsible adult routine. We wanted to have fun for once." Her words confirmed everything I had suspected, but hadn't wanted to admit to myself. They hadn't excluded me because they thought I was busy or wouldn't want to come. They had excluded me because they didn't enjoy my company. They didn't want the responsible one around to potentially question their extravagant spending or reckless choices. Well, now you get to be the responsible adult. The next car payment is due in 2 weeks. I suggest you figure out how to make it. Jackson was next, his carefree vacation persona completely gone. "Dude, what the hell? The university finance office says my tuition payment for next semester hasn't been made, and my building manager says the rent for my apartment is late. What's going on? I'm no longer covering those expenses." Unlike the others, Jackson seemed genuinely confused, rather than immediately angry. "But why? What did I do?" "It's not what you did. It's what you all did. The Miami trip, the public humiliation, the complete disregard for my feelings. That was just messing around. I didn't know you were seriously upset. Well, I am. And I'm seriously done being the family ATM while being treated like an outsider. But this is my education we're talking about. And my housing. I could get kicked out. You have options. Get a job. Apply for financial aid. Ask mom and dad for help. Take out student loans like most other college students. That's so messed up, Riley. I thought you wanted me to have a better college experience than you did. The guilt trip might have worked before, but not now. I wanted my little brother to appreciate the opportunities he was given. Instead, you joined the rest of the family in excluding and mocking me. The individual calls and texts continued throughout the day and into the next, sometimes angry, sometimes pleading, occasionally attempting to guilt me with comments about family obligation and how much they had sacrificed for me growing up. I remained firm, though each interaction drained me emotionally. By the end of the week, the tone of their messages had shifted from angry entitlement to genuine worry. My mother left a voicemail saying they were struggling to cover basic expenses. Amanda texted that she had received a formal warning from the auto finance company. Jackson sent a screenshot of an email from his university about his enrollment status being in jeopardy due to unpaid fees. 9 days after they had returned from Miami, I received a call from my father. His voice, normally confident and often dismissive, sounded shaken. "Riley, we need to talk. All of us. Face to face. This has gone far enough." "I agree," I said, surprising him with my calm agreement. "Tomorrow evening at your house, 7 o'clock. We'll be here," he replied, an unusual note of humility in his tone. "And Riley, we should have handled things differently, with your birthday and all." It wasn't quite an apology, but coming from my proud father, it was the closest thing I'd heard in years. I ended the call feeling both apprehensive and resolute about the confrontation to come. I arrived at my parents' house at exactly 7 o'clock the next evening, a thick folder of financial documents under my arm. From the driveway, I could see all the lights on inside and silhouettes moving around the living room. My family was already assembled, waiting for me. Taking a deep breath, I walked up to the front door, a door I had helped pay to replace 3 years ago when a storm had damaged the original. Instead of using my key as I normally would, I rang the doorbell. This wasn't a casual family visit. This was a reckoning. My mother opened the door, her expression a complex mixture of relief, wariness, and lingering indignation. "Riley, come in." No hug, no warm greeting. The tension was palpable. In the living room, my father sat in his favorite recliner, his posture rigid and defensive. Amanda occupied one end of the couch, her eyes red from crying. Jackson paced near the window, looking more like a trapped animal than the carefree college student he usually portrayed. All of them watched me enter with a combination of resentment and desperation. "So, my father began before I had even sat down. This little financial tantrum of yours has gone far enough. It's time to be an adult about this." I remained standing, calmly meeting his gaze. "I agree completely. It's time for everyone in this room to be adults. That's why I'm here." I placed the folder on the coffee table and sat in the armchair opposite my father, opening the cover to reveal the meticulously organized financial records I had compiled. Before we talk about moving forward, I think we need to acknowledge the reality of our family dynamic up to this point. I pulled out the first page, a summary sheet with all the totals clearly displayed. In the past 5 years, I have given this family $297,000. The number hung in the air. My mother gasped audibly. Amanda looked away. Jackson stopped pacing. "That doesn't include birthday gifts, holiday presents, dinners out, or the countless small expenses I've covered without thinking twice." I passed copies of the detailed breakdown to each of them. These pages show exactly how that money was distributed. My father glanced at his sheet, then tossed it aside. "Nobody asked you to do all that. You offered. You can't hold your generosity over our heads when it was freely given." "You're right," I conceded. "I offered because I love you all and wanted to help. But at what point did my generosity become an expectation rather than a gift? At what point did I transition from valued family member to convenient bank account? That's not fair, my mother interjected. We appreciate everything you've done for us. Do you? When was the last time any of you thanked me without immediately following it with another request? When was the last time any of you showed the same level of consideration for me that I've consistently shown for all of you? Amanda wiped away a tear. We say thank you all the time. Thank you for the money, yes. But what about respecting me as a person? Including me in family plans? Remembering my birthday without me having to remind you? Jackson had picked up his financial sheet and was staring at it, his face pale. I had no idea it was this much, he said quietly. I never added it all up. Neither did I admitted. Not until last week. But this isn't actually about the money. It's about what the money represents. It represents years of me putting this family first, often at the expense of my own needs and goals. And in return, I got excluded from a family vacation that happened to fall on my birthday. I got publicly mocked by my own father and siblings. I got dismissed when I expressed hurt over these actions. My father shifted uncomfortably in his chair. It was just a joke that went too far. We didn't think you'd take it so seriously. Would you have made the same joke to Amanda? To Jackson? Or is it only acceptable to mock me because I'm the one who pays for everything? No one answered. I continued, my voice steady despite the emotion building inside me. The Miami trip was just the final straw. For years I've been feeling increasingly taken for granted. My birthdays get forgotten or minimally acknowledged, while I go all out for each of yours. My time is considered less valuable than anyone else's. My feelings are dismissed as oversensitivity whenever I express hurt. My mother had tears in her eyes now. We never meant to make you feel unappreciated, Riley. You're so capable, so self-sufficient. Sometimes we forget that you need recognition and consideration too. That's the problem. You forget I'm a person with feelings, not just a financial resource. Amanda looked up, her expression shifting from defensive to something closer to genuine remorse. I didn't realize how much I've been relying on you. The car, the rent help, it just became normal. I stopped even thinking about what it meant for you. And did you think about me at all when planning the Miami trip? Did any of you consider how it would feel for me to discover through Facebook that my entire family had gone on vacation without me? Jackson spoke up. We talked about inviting you, actually. But Dad said, Jackson, my father warned. But it was too late. Dad said what? I pressed. Jackson looked between our father and me, then continued reluctantly. Dad said you'd probably just complain about the expense and ruin everyone's fun. That you were turning into a killjoy with all your responsibility talks. The truth hurt, but it also confirmed what I had suspected. I turned to my father. So I'm good enough to pay for your lifestyle but not good enough to vacation with? My father's face flushed with a mixture of embarrassment and lingering defiance. You've changed, Riley. Ever since you got your fancy job and started making good money, you've had this superiority complex. Always talking about investments and savings and responsible choices, making the rest of us feel like irresponsible children. I talk about those things because I care about this family's future. Because I've been carrying the financial burden for all of you, and hoped that eventually you'd become more independent. We never asked you to carry anything, he shot back. Really? I pulled out more documents. Here's a text from you last year asking for $8,000 for a new HVAC system. Here's one from Mom about covering property taxes when you came up short. Here's Amanda asking me to pay for car repairs on top of the regular payments I was already making. Here's Jackson requesting extra money for spring break beyond his monthly allowance. I laid each piece of evidence on the table. You may not have explicitly asked me to carry everything, but you created a dynamic where I felt responsible for everyone's financial well-being. And in return, I got exclusion and mockery. The room fell silent. The evidence was too overwhelming to deny. Finally, my mother spoke, her voice thick with emotion. We've been terrible to you, haven't we? Taking and taking without giving back the one thing that would have cost us nothing, respect. Her honest admission broke something in the room's atmosphere. Amanda began crying openly. I'm so sorry, Riley. I didn't see it. I didn't want to see it. It was easier to keep taking your help than to face how selfish I was being. Jackson moved to sit on the couch, his face troubled. I thought it was normal. Like, that's what big brothers do, they help out. I never thought about the total, or what you were giving up to help me. Only my father remained outwardly unmoved, though I could see conflict in his eyes. His pride was battling with the undeniable reality of the situation. So what now? He finally asked. You've made your point. You've cut us all off financially, and watched us scramble for over a week. Are you satisfied? Is your revenge complete? This isn't about revenge, I said firmly. It's about establishing healthy boundaries and a family dynamic based on mutual respect rather than financial dependency. And what does that look like in practical terms? My mother asked. It means I'm willing to help in true emergencies, but daily expenses, bills, tuition, car payments, those are your individual responsibilities now. It means including me in family events and respecting my feelings. It means acknowledging my birthday with the same consideration I've shown for yours. Amanda nodded slowly. That's more than fair. I should have been handling my own car payments long ago. Jackson looked troubled. I don't know how I'll pay for school without your help, but I guess I could get a part-time job, maybe apply for scholarships. I'm not saying I'll never help with education, I clarified, but it would be as a gift freely given, not an expectation or obligation, and it would come with the understanding that my generosity deserves basic respect and appreciation in return. My father finally spoke, his voice quieter than before. You're right. We've been taking advantage, and it took this extreme measure to make us see it. Coming from him, this partial admission was significant. I shouldn't have said what I did on Facebook, and we shouldn't have planned that trip without you, especially not on your birthday. It wasn't a full apology, but from my proud father, it was a meaningful concession. The ice that had formed around my heart began to crack slightly. I'll need to see real changes before financial support resumes, I said. Actions, not just words. They all nodded, the reality of their situation sinking in. This wasn't a temporary punishment they could wait out. This was a fundamental shift in our family dynamic that required genuine change on their part. As I prepared to leave, my mother approached me hesitantly. Your birthday. We missed it completely. Would you let us make it up to you? A simple dinner, nothing fancy. Just family time where we can start rebuilding. I considered her offer. Maybe. Let me think about it. I wasn't ready to jump back into normalcy, but I was willing to leave the door open for healing. I walked out of their house that evening, feeling emotionally drained but also lighter, as if I had put down a burden I'd been carrying for years. The road ahead would be complicated and probably painful at times, but for the first time, I felt like my family might be seeing me, really seeing me as a person worthy of respect, rather than just a convenient financial resource. The weeks following our confrontation were difficult for everyone involved. My family had to quickly adjust to financial reality without my support, and I had to process years of built-up resentment and hurt while resisting the urge to swoop in and rescue them when they struggled. It would have been easier in the short term to fall back into old patterns, but I knew that would only perpetuate the unhealthy dynamic we'd established. For the first time in my adult life, I focused entirely on myself. I consulted a therapist who specialized in family dynamics, who helped me understand that my enabling behavior had contributed to the problem. By always being the financial safety net, I had inadvertently encouraged dependency and entitlement. Breaking that cycle was painful but necessary for everyone's growth. My father was initially the most resistant to our new reality. His pride made it difficult for him to admit his role in the breakdown of our relationship. 2 weeks after our confrontation, he called me with news that their water heater had broken. It's going to cost $2,000 to replace, he said, the request implicit in his tone. That's unfortunate, I replied. Have you checked if your home warranty covers it? A pause. You know we don't have one of those. You might want to look into getting one. They're helpful for these kinds of emergencies. In the meantime, most plumbing companies offer financing options. The conversation was awkward, but it was a necessary boundary. Later that week, my mother told me they had found a reasonably priced plumber who allowed them to pay in installments. My father had picked up weekend work to cover the extra expense. It wasn't easy for them, but they were adapting. Amanda surprised me the most with her response to the new boundaries. After the initial shock and resentment wore off, she approached her situation with unexpected maturity. She called me 3 weeks after our confrontation. "I got a second job," she said without preamble. "Evenings and weekends at a retail store. It's not glamorous, but between that and cutting back on some expenses, I can make my car payment. I've also downsized my apartment to something more affordable." "That's great, Amanda. I'm proud of you for taking responsibility." "I should have done it years ago," she admitted. "It was just so easy to let you handle everything. But it feels good, you know? Paying my own way." I never thought I'd say that, but it does. Her words warmed something inside me. Perhaps this difficult lesson was exactly what she had needed. Jackson faced the most immediate consequences, with his university threatening to cancel his enrollment due to unpaid fees. He called me in panic mode the day he received the final notice. "I don't know what to do, Riley. I've applied for emergency financial aid, but it won't come through in time. I could lose my spot and have to reapply." I listened to his genuine distress, considering my response carefully. "Have you looked into student loans? Most of your classmates are financing their education that way." I started the application, but it won't be processed for weeks. The deadline is in 3 days. I could hear the fear in his voice. Fear of losing the future he had envisioned for himself. Unlike my parents and Amanda, Jackson was still in the formative stages of his adult life. The consequences of interrupted education could have long-lasting effects. After careful thought, I made a decision that balanced my new boundaries with compassion. "I'll pay this semester's tuition as a one-time bridge while you get your financial aid and loans in order. But going forward, you need a sustainable plan that doesn't rely on me." His relief was palpable. "Thank you. Seriously, Riley, I won't take it for granted. I've already lined up a campus job for 20 hours a week, and I'm looking at scholarship options for next semester." "That's good to hear. And Jackson? I'm doing this because I believe in your potential, and your education is important. Not because I'm obligated to, or because you're entitled to it." "I understand," he said, and for the first time I believed he truly did. My mother reached out regularly, making awkward but genuine attempts to repair our relationship. She asked about my work, my friends, my interests, topics that had rarely been the focus of our conversations before. Sometimes she would call just to share a memory from my childhood or tell me she was thinking of me. Small gestures, but meaningful ones that required no financial component. A month after the confrontation, she invited me to Sunday dinner again. "Nothing fancy," she assured me. "Just family time. No agenda, no requests. We just miss you." I accepted with cautious optimism. The dinner was indeed simple, a homemade meal rather than the expensive takeout they used to order on my dime. The conversation was sometimes strained, old patterns trying to reassert themselves, but there was also a new awareness. When my father started complaining about a costly car repair, he caught himself and changed the subject. When Amanda mentioned a concert she wanted to attend, she quickly added that she was saving up for the tickets herself. These small changes indicated that they were trying, really trying, to see me as more than a financial resource. It wasn't perfect, and there were backslides and difficult moments, but it was progress. 2 months after the Miami incident, my family surprised me with a belated birthday celebration. They picked a restaurant within their budget, not the expensive venues I usually funded. My father had made a handmade card, something I hadn't received from him since childhood. Amanda had framed a photo of us from years ago, before money had complicated our relationship. Jackson had written me a heartfelt letter about how my support had changed his life, and how he was working to become more self-reliant. As we sat there sharing a meal and genuine conversation, I felt something healing inside me. The hurt wasn't completely gone, but it was being gradually replaced by cautious hope. My family was learning to value me for who I was, not what I could provide financially. And I was learning that sometimes the most caring thing you can do for someone is to let them face the consequences of their actions and grow from the experience. In the months that followed, our family dynamic continued to evolve. There were difficult conversations, occasional resentments, and financial struggles as they adjusted to their new reality. But there were also moments of genuine connection and respect that had been missing for years. I maintained my boundaries firmly but compassionately. When true emergencies arose, I sometimes chose to help, but always as a conscious choice rather than an obligation or expectation. The difference was subtle but profound both for me and for them. My 30th birthday approached with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. Would they remember without prompting? Would we fall back into old patterns? To my surprise and joy, they planned a thoughtful celebration that reflected our new relationship. It wasn't lavish or expensive, but it was sincere and focused on connection rather than material aspects. As I blew out the candles on a homemade cake, my favorite flavor, which they had actually remembered, I realized that the painful lesson of my 29th birthday had ultimately given me the greatest gift possible, a family that valued me for myself, not my wallet. The journey hadn't been easy, and we still had work to do, but we were building something healthier and more authentic than what we had before. I had learned that true family values respect and appreciation, not financial support. Setting boundaries, though initially painful, ultimately creates healthier relationships for everyone involved. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stand firm and require others to take responsibility for themselves. What began as a story of betrayal had transformed into one of growth and renewed connection. My family learned that treating people like commodities eventually backfires, and I learned that enabling harmful behavior isn't actually helping anyone. True love sometimes means having the courage to say no and demand the respect you deserve. Looking back now, I can almost be grateful for that Miami trip and Facebook revelation. Without that painful catalyst, we might have continued our unhealthy patterns indefinitely. Sometimes it takes hitting bottom to start building something better. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with people you love? How did you find the courage to stand firm when they pushed back? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about navigating complex family dynamics and finding your worth. Remember, sometimes the most powerful word in the English language is simply no. Thank you for listening, and may you find the strength to establish the boundaries you deserve in your own relationships.